shift our focus to something, to more solutions, and let's shift our focus to something more positive. Now, we all know that there has been so many tech solutions to how we navigate and help those who are visually impaired go about with their life. There are audiobooks, there are better facilities now being made, not to the extent that we want, but facilities at least being made in terms of navigating through road, etc. But have you ever thought about an infrastructure built purely for the blind? That's happened for the first time here in the country, and so happy to have the founder here with us of SEALAB. Please join me in saying hello to Anand Sonecha. Anand joins us from Gandhinagar. Good morning, Anand, where he's built a really unique school for the visually impaired and for the blind. The school is designed for children who come from very, very remote villages and towns in Gujarat, but are very eager to learn. And they get this opportunity to live there, to be there in a surrounding that is designed, an infrastructure that is designed purely for them. So Anand, take us through. Firstly, I want to understand, it's called SEALAB, but not the C one. So I want to understand, where does the name come from and how did you get down to designing an infrastructure for the blind? And this concept is so interesting because infrastructure is made to be seen, is made to be experienced. But how do you design something for people who will never see what you have built? It is so interesting.
Thank you so much for having me here. First of all, SEALAB is an architecture practice that I run in Ahmedabad. So we founded SEALAB in 2015. Like any other architecture practice, we do different kind of projects. We do cultural buildings, we do institutions, housing, many other infrastructure. But this particular project, School for the Blind and Visually Impaired Children, also is a very distinct experience for us and very close to our heart. Just to give a quick idea about the project. So we were invited by Viren Joshi, the president of Service Association for the Blind, in 2017 to look at the current infrastructure of the school, which was running from a defunct primary school building from the government. They adapted to use as a school and the hostel facilities. So students were living on the ground floor, girls and boys, and on the first floor they were studying. And the students, as you mentioned, that they come from very remote villages and small towns of the state, Gujarat, and who has no financial capacity for the education. And over the period of time, the number increased, and there was a crunch in space. It was not in good condition, so many students have to live together in groups on the bunk beds. So that's where this idea came to being, that why don't we build the new school next to the existing building, and then we renovate the existing infrastructure into the hostel facility in its entirety, so that students can live comfortably and they can have better education facility. So that was the basic premise project through which it started.
But Anand, how did you prep for this? I'm sure there was a lot of research into understanding what is it that they will feel, what are the other senses that you can tap onto if your sight is not there. Tell me a little bit about that process.
Because generally our cities and buildings are designed to be navigated for the users who depend on the visual ability, right? It was very difficult for us to find good examples in the country that what about the infrastructure for the users who do not depend on the visual ability, but they depend on other senses like touch or smell or sound. So it was difficult, but I traveled across the country to see some good examples. So, but I could not find many specifically designed examples in the school. But we saw good schools like Victoria's Memorial School for the Blind. It has good facility. We have a Blind People Association here in Ahmedabad. Also, Prakash, the school for the girls, blind girls. So those were some examples that I saw. But I really wanted to get into more architecture part of it. So that's where I came across Perkins School for the Blind in United States, where Helen Keller and Laura Bridgman and Anne Sullivan, the stalwarts who studied there. Um, that's where I came across, and I worked there for 4.5 months. I showed my design to them, to the teachers who were teaching there for many years. I met very good researchers. They put me in touch to very good people who were expert in blind accessibility and infrastructure. So there were a lot of discussions. I showed my work to them. They gave me inputs, and there was a lot of good discussions. And also the school in Gandhinagar. Other aspect was that teachers and students also gave inputs in their design, because they know their own space well than any of us, that how did they move.
Yeah.
So I
Of
spent a lot
course.
of time. I spent a lot of time in Gandhinagar in the existing school, looking at how children move from one place to another. How do they identify things? How do they identify spaces? Uh, and so forth. How do they
So tell
live?
me, so these kids very eager to learn, very eager to do more, and they obviously can't see, but you've designed corridors in a way where just the texture of the wall tells them the direction. There is a bit beautiful thing about how you've planted different trees that smell differently, that tell people which way they are really going. Talk to us a little bit about the other senses that you've managed to sort of make use of in this project.
So the school is designed to be navigated by more than one of five senses. It is sense of touch, smell, hearing, and sight. So we use those senses, and we try to convert into our infrastructure. Like for example, the plan of the school is very basic. It's a very rectangular building. So what we did was, we use five different kind of textures in the school. So for example, we use sand face texture on the exterior periphery of the school. So when students move and touch the exterior part, they know they are on the periphery or on the outside. Whereas inside, as you said, in the corridor, we use rough and smooth texture, the combination of it. So on the smoother side, there are classrooms. On the rougher side is the courtyard of the main courtyard of the school. The longer side, so since it's a rectangular building, the longer side of the corridor we created horizontal texture, and the shorter side of the corridor we created vertical texture. So students also might understand which side of the corridor they are in. So these are like small tools we thought that we'll introduce, which might help navigating the students. So we used also textures on the floor. So each classroom entry is marked by a different texture of kota stone. So students understand when they walk, because we have used rough and smooth kota stone in our flooring. So wherever classroom entry is, we use rough kota stone. So students understand that this is the entry of the classroom. So that was one.
How ingenious is that? Yeah.
Thank you. So that was one sense of touch that we used for. Then we use sense of hearing. So since again it's a rectangular building, so on the entrance of the school, we created a corridor which is wide and tall, whereas the opposite side of that corridor we created very narrow and short. So when you talk on those parts, you have a very different kind of echo that has been produced. Or many students use clap to understand spaces, or when you walk with your feet, it makes some sound. So student might understand that they are on the entrance part because it is wide and tall. Whereas when they go on the opposite side of the school, they might understand they're the opposite side of the entry. So these are like, again, that clue through sense of sound that we try to identify which space you are in. So that's something that we have
Right.
used. And then sense of smell.
No, Anand, yeah, smell. I'm very interested in that. The different plants and trees.
Yes. So we collaborated with landscape architect Lokendra Balasaria. So he helped us to identify different species of plants and trees, which are aromatic, which is good for shade, which is also good for inviting birds and butterflies and improving the ecosystem. So our idea was to plant specific species of plants which are aromatic in courtyards. So each classroom has its own courtyard, private courtyard, through which we are bringing the filtered light, because light is also very important concern for low vision students. So we are bringing indirect light, filtered light from the courtyards, and in those courtyards we planted aromatic plants through which the classroom can be distinct. So this is something that we tried, and we're still in the post-occupancy survey stage where we are still studying what we thought worked, what we didn't work, and I think only after a few years, I think we'll be able to assess everything very critically. Yeah, and the corridor also
But what a job well done, Anand. Thanks so much for everything that you've done, and this is so unique. And I love, it's not just about making it accessible for the visually impaired, but it's about also giving them the independence. The fact that you know these corridors, the fact you know exactly where you're going and you don't need assistance. Imagine the sense of confidence that will be built in these kids as well. So congratulations to you. And we'll connect again and we'll see where this project has gone. And like I said, this is the first of its kind infrastructure being imagined for the visually impaired, and I think that's what makes it so very exciting. And we were talking about how this can be scaled up, so many things that can be done about this concept as well. But for now, thanks Anand for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. Thank you.